Have you ever wondered how far a person might go to protect what they believe is right? Or how a single decision can spiral into a web of lies, ultimately leading to tragedy? I'm Marcus Thompson, once one of the most respected music producers in Los Angeles, and now, well, that's part of the story I'm about to tell you. It's a tale of ambition, manipulation, and ultimately, redemption. A story that changed my life and my perspective on love, music, and the power of authenticity. It's a journey through the backstage of the music industry, where talents shine, hearts meet, and the flames of destiny, both metaphorical and literal, rewrite everything we thought we knew. It all began when I met Jalen Carter, a young singer from South Central with a voice that could move mountains and lyrics that spoke directly to the soul of urban America. I saw in him not just an artist, but a symbol, a voice for an entire generation of young folks seeking representation and hope. Jalen's music was a testament to the struggles and dreams of his community. I took Jalen under my wing, molding his raw talent into a polished gem. We were on the brink of something big, I could feel it. His debut album was set to shake the industry, to be the voice of a generation. And then, Lily Andrews entered the scene. Lily was everything Jalen wasn't, from a different part of town, with a softer, more melodic voice more suited to pop than hip-hop. When I saw them together in the studio, the chemistry was undeniable. And it terrified me. You see, I had built my career on cultivating authentic voices, on keeping it real. In my mind, Jalen's relationship with Lily threatened everything we had worked for. His street cred, his appeal to the community, all of it was at risk. Or so I thought. At first, I tried to be subtle. I'd schedule their recording sessions at different times, make offhand comments about how their styles didn't mesh well. But as their relationship grew stronger, so did my desperation. I started spreading whispers throughout the industry. To Jalen's friends from the neighborhood, I'd say things like, "Man, have you seen Jalen lately? Seems like he's forgetting where he came from. That girl's got him all twisted." To Lily's circle, I'd drop hints about Jalen's past, fabricating stories of broken hearts he'd left behind. But my real masterpiece of manipulation came when I reached out to their families. To Jalen's mother, a hard-working woman who had sacrificed everything for her son, I played the role of the concerned mentor. "Mrs. Carter," I'd say, my voice dripping with false sincerity, "I'm worried about Jalen. This girl he's seeing, Lily. I think she might be using him for his fame. You know how these industry types can be. I just don't want to see him get hurt." With Lily's parents, I took a different approach. I painted Jalen as a bad influence, someone who would drag their daughter down. "Mr. and Mrs. Andrews," I'd say during chance encounters I had orchestrated, "I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I'm concerned about Lily's involvement with Jalen. The circles he runs in, they're different from what she's used to. I'm just looking out for her, you understand." All the while, to Jalen and Lily, I played the supportive friend. "I'm here for you too," I'd say, even as I plotted to tear them apart. "The industry can be tough on relationships. If you ever need advice, just ask good old Marcus." As tensions grew and doubts crept in, fueled by my whispers and lies, I saw my chance. I hired a paparazzo to stage photos of Jalen with an ex-girlfriend, making sure they looked intimate even though it was just a friendly hug. Then I made sure Lily saw them. The fallout was explosive. Lily was heartbroken, Jalen confused and angry. Their families, already skeptical thanks to my machinations, saw this as confirmation of their worst fears. For a few weeks, it seemed like my plan had worked. Jalen threw himself into his music, producing some of the angriest, most raw tracks I'd ever heard. This, I thought, was what would cement his place in hip-hop history. But I had underestimated the power of their love, and the lengths they would go to fight for it. One night, I overheard them planning to meet at the studio to talk things through and possibly work on their music together. In that moment, driven by fear and desperation, I made a decision that would haunt me for the rest of my life. I went to the studio earlier that day, under the pretense of checking some equipment. With trembling hands, I tampered with the wiring in the control room. I told myself I just wanted to disrupt their session, to create more discord between them. I never imagined the catastrophe that would unfold. That night, as Jalen and Lily were in the sound booth, engrossed in an emotional conversation and impromptu songwriting session, the unthinkable happened. An electrical fire broke out in the control room, spreading rapidly through the flammable soundproofing materials. I was at home when I got the call. The studio was on fire. Jalen and Lily were inside. My world stopped spinning. By the time I arrived at the scene, the firefighters were already there. The studio was engulfed in flames, thick black smoke billowing into the night sky. And then I saw them, Jalen and Lily, being rushed into ambulances, oxygen masks on their faces, their bodies limp and unresponsive. The next few days were a blur of hospital waiting rooms, police questioning, and soul-crushing guilt. Jalen and Lily were in comas, fighting for their lives. Jalen had suffered severe burns and a broken leg from where the ceiling had collapsed on him. Lily, though spared the worst of the burns, had inhaled so much smoke that doctors were unsure if she'd ever sing again. Their families, who had been at odds due to my lies, were now forced together in the hospital waiting room. I watched as Mrs. Carter, her face etched with worry, reached out to hold Mrs. Andrews' hand. In that moment of shared fear and hope, the barriers I had so carefully constructed began to crumble. As the police investigation unfolded, the truth of my tampering came to light. Security footage showed me in the control room, and forensic evidence pointed to deliberate sabotage. I was arrested on charges of negligence and reckless endangerment. The music community rallied around Jalen and Lily. Benefit concerts were organized, with artists from all genres coming together to raise funds for their medical expenses and rehabilitation. The outpouring of love and support was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the division I had worked so hard to create. Jalen woke up first, a week after the fire. His first words were to ask about Lily. When he learned of the extent of her injuries, he wept, blaming himself for not getting her out sooner. It was heartbreaking to watch, knowing that I was the true culprit. Lily regained consciousness a few days later. Her first attempt to speak came out as a hoarse whisper, filling everyone with fear that her voice might be permanently damaged. The road to recovery for both of them would be long and challenging. As for me, I was facing not just legal consequences, but the complete implosion of my career and personal life. The label fired me immediately. My reputation, built over decades, was in tatters. Old clients distanced themselves, upcoming projects were cancelled. I became a pariah in the industry I had once dominated. But the professional fallout paled in comparison to the personal. My actions had caused real harm to real people. Jalen and Lily had to deal with not just physical recovery, but the emotional trauma of betrayal and near-death experience. Their relationship, strong as it was, had been strained to the breaking point. Jalen's mother, who had come to see me as almost a co-parent, was devastated. She felt guilty for doubting her son, for letting an outsider come between them. It took months of therapy and honest conversations to rebuild that trust. Lily's parents faced their own reckoning. They had to confront their own biases, realizing how easily they had believed the worst about Jalen based on nothing but stereotypes and my poisonous whispers. The process of making amends and truly accepting Jalen into their family was long and often uncomfortable, but ultimately strengthening. As for me, the legal consequences were severe. Both Jalen and Lily's families pursued civil cases against me for defamation and emotional distress. The label sued for breach of contract and damages to their artists. I was looking at financial ruin and a long prison sentence. In the midst of this storm, as I sat in my jail cell awaiting trial, I realized the full weight of what I had done. I had nearly destroyed 2 young lives, damaged families, all for what? To maintain my vision of authenticity in music? The hollowness of that excuse rang in my ears. It was in this dark moment that an unexpected light appeared. Jalen and Lily, showing a capacity for forgiveness I never deserved, reached out. They didn't absolve me of my actions, but they offered a chance at redemption. "We want to understand why," Lily said during our meeting in the prison visiting room, her voice still raspy from the smoke damage. "And we want you to make this right, not just with us, but with everyone you've hurt." Their conditions were strict. I would make a full public apology, detailing all my actions. I would undergo therapy to understand my own biases and manipulative tendencies. And once I had served my time, I would use whatever was left of my industry knowledge and connections to help promote understanding and collaboration between artists of different backgrounds. It was a long road back. The public apology was one of the hardest things I've ever done, laying bare my failures and flaws for the world to see. The therapy sessions were grueling, forcing me to confront ugly truths about myself I had long ignored. But slowly, painfully, things began to change. After serving my sentence, I started working with small, diverse artists, using my experience to guide them without trying to control their message. I spoke at industry panels about the dangers of stereotyping and the importance of authentic collaboration. And Jalen and Lily? They emerged from this stronger than ever. The album they created together, born from the pain and triumph of their journey, was a masterpiece. It bridged genres and cultures, speaking to universal themes of love, struggle, and redemption. Jalen's voice, though changed by his injuries, carried a new depth of emotion. Lily's vocals, once we feared might be silenced forever, had a raw, powerful quality that touched listeners' souls. Watching them perform together at their comeback concert, their voices intertwining, their love palpable even from the back of the arena where I stood, I felt a bittersweet mix of joy and regret. They had created something beautiful from the ashes of my mistakes. Their families, too, found healing. Jalen's mother and Lily's parents, brought together by their shared experience of almost losing their children, formed an unlikely but powerful friendship. They became advocates for breaking down cultural barriers, using their story to promote understanding and acceptance. As for me, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make amends for the harm I caused. I've learned that true authenticity isn't about fitting into a predetermined mold or meeting others' expectations. It's about being true to yourself and your feelings, even when they don't fit the narrative you thought you wanted. Now I leave you with a question: what assumptions might be blinding you to the beauty and potential around you? How far would you go to protect what you believe in, and at what cost? This story of Jalen and Lily, of my fall and slow redemption, is just one among thousands. But I hope it touches your hearts and makes you think. If you felt moved by this journey, don't stop here. There's so much more to explore in our exclusive playlist of stories that challenge assumptions and celebrate love in all its forms. Remember, the most beautiful symphonies are born when different styles come together, even in the face of adversity. In music, as in life, it's our differences that create the most powerful harmonies. Let's learn to listen to each other's songs with open hearts and minds. Who knows what beautiful music we might create together, rising from the ashes of our mistakes.